I'm Carla with Race to Walk, and these are just some thoughts on a Sunday. And in 2023, I did one of these every week. I was giving an update on what we were doing with our efforts for some Afghan Christians who are in Pakistan right now, and was just giving an update on those what we were doing there, and also just giving a little bit of information about immigration and things that were going on there. But this year in 2024, I have not really been doing that. And the reason is because I have had some really petty and basic and criminals and creepy stalkers that have been stalking and harassing me. So, anyway, I had a plan about how I was going to just like go into all this. And so, here's the thing I was going to start in the description. And in this description, I was just kind of given an overview of how all this stuff like got involved. And I was just going to say that I had back in 2018, I did a this blog post called is this the one? I think it is. Yeah, on elections, faith, and parties. Okay. So I don't know about you, but when you write a lot of stuff, I do have like a whole spreadsheet where I have all my article listings and everything. But a lot of times it's just easier to go to Google, because you know what you've written, and then you just do a Google search and pull up the link, right? Well, I've had part of the hacking and stalking is basically they've sabotaged. These are things that I knew, like just kind of coming into July. They sabotaged my search. They had like hacked my site a couple times, it, like messed up just a bunch of stuff. And so anyway, I thought I had it fixed and was, like going back in, and it had started to get reindexed in Google. And then I noticed some more things on there. So I have changed passwords like multiple times. And so it's not like I'm just leaving the passwords as is. Huge pain in the butt. But anyway, so just today, I go in and I'm like, okay, so just pulling up the URL to this blog post, and I don't know if you could tell, but anyway, it has this. I entered Raise to Walk because I know that I'm not just going to come up on the term anymore because they've completely busted like any like search rankings that I've had. So anyway, I find it, and it's way down below. There's other things that are listing, coming up as listing. And so then I go to you see what's listed there, right? And so then I go to the post, and I'm suspecting what's going to happen because I've been through at this point what I do, and I advise you if you ever feel like you're going through this type of thing to take screenshots and document like everything, because that's what I've done. So anytime I come across something, I take a picture, and you'll see like some of the things I've been doing. I put a note on it, and then I say, okay, this is what I think is going on. So this was posted back in 2018, and then this is what happens. It comes up to post not found. Now, if you go up and look in the URLs up at the top, you can see what the URL is. So it's basically the post title twice. Okay. So this is a screenshot of the back end of my WordPress site. And this, I have it, like if you haven't used WordPress, if you hover over the where it says view on the post title, you can see the URL. So that's why I'm pointing out there now. You can see the URL on the bottom, that is the actual post title, right? So then I go back to, yeah, okay, maybe I'm mistaken on like which one. So anyway, that's what I was trying to show. Okay. So anyway, what is indexed, because I just sent Google to go and index it again, right? And what's indexed, there's no excerpt or anything, but what's indexed is it's the wrong URL, even though the URL is actually there. So there's a hack with redirects going on. And so keep this in mind. Okay, this is a hack with redirects. So what I was going to say originally when I started this out, that I I honestly, I kind of, this is the thing, I don't ever think I was controversial before 2016, and I've talked about this. Our shady school board brought in, um, brought in this superintendent that nobody wanted, who literally every single person, um, that anybody talked to recommended against her, advised against her. Oh shoot. Okay, I'm sorry. I haven't done this in a very long time. And um let me see. I know this isn't a big deal, but I don't like, I want to do it like this. Okay. So anyway, I started, just talking about things that I had found. And so then that was 2016. And then it seemed to us, like us that were against this superintendent coming in, that it was a setup for vouchers in Texas. Okay, so that's what we thought. That's what we suspected. Then the election comes around to 2017. There's all kinds of shady stuff that goes on. And I was not running. I was just a parent. I have 3 girls. 2 of my girls went through Umbla IC from, grade school to, or from kindergarten all the way up through high school. The other one went through 8th grade. And so, that's the community that my girls grew up in. I've done multiple events, and I've taught Sunday school for, kids for, and BBS for like 9 years, so this is a community that I'm invested in. And so when they talk about destroying education, this is, these are kids, these are like my kids' peers, right? So anyway, 2017 comes around. There's all kinds of, like I said, I was not involved in anything. I didn't really know anything about politics. I was just seeing what was going on. I had been investigating what had happened, and what happened, what really triggered it for me was in when they announced the superintendent as the sole finalist. A friend who had been from the same area where this superintendent came from in her former district said, "Oh, this is really bad." And I was like, I'm sure it's fine. I didn't know any of the school board members, but I knew people who knew them, and I respected them. And so I was like, I'm sure it's fine. And so then I started, but she was really freaking out about it. So then I started researching it. And once I got past the first page of Google, which I found out later that it was a lot of paid PR pieces, actually paid for by public funds, then it started really getting concerning. And when I first started reading about what this superintendent was involved in, I was like, I was in the apologetics program at Houston Baptist University, and I had just gone through the class where we read The Abolition of Man, or where they used to read The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. And I have several videos on my website about that. I'm not going to get into it. But when I was reading her ideology, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the green book in The Abolition of Man. It's exactly what Lewis was talking about. So that really concerned me. So I was, started investigating, like, what's the agenda behind this? Where is the money coming from? I'm just, looking, and I'm being mouthy on social media. I'm just a person has an opinion, right? And so anyway, it comes to the 2017 election, and this is the thing. 2016, it was still like, we just thought they were fooled. We just thought the board members were fooled. I didn't think it was, I didn't know. I just thought they weren't, maybe they were just gullible. That's what I thought. 2017 comes and really kind of blows that illusion. And there was, at this school board race, where it's not a high voting district. There's, at the time, I think that year there was 115,000 registered voters in the district, but the number of people who would vote would only be like 3,000 people, because they would put it in like this weird timing for the election, and so people, it was just very low turnout. And so anyway, there'd be like 3,000 people that would come through. And a friend of mine he's a friend now. I didn't even know him before, but this one guy named Bob Hack, he was running against who I considered like the epicenter of the corruption on the school board. And I was thinking, oh, Bob's going to totally win because he's really awesome. Like he's my dad's age, and he's like, so my degree is my background is in marketing and advertising, and Bob is like he has his own advertising agency. He's like an old school ad man. I mean, he's awesome, and I've seen what he's since I moved into the area. I've seen the things that he's done, and he's just awesome. I mean, he's just the kind of person that every community needs to have in there. He's just done so many things for the community. And so I was like, Bob's gonna win. You know, he's like, he's a conservative. He's been a Republican for 50 years. Everybody knows him. How could he possibly lose? And even like the person who he's running against, it was like, even his friends don't like him. I mean, just the things people would say behind his back. It was just crazy. So anyway, that was a eye opener because there was so much dark money that came from outside the district to keep the incumbents in place. The incumbents that had hired this superintendent. Breitbart was writing, no joke, was writing articles on it. They had all this money just like blanketing it. It had these. It was just a lot. It was a lot, and that was just seeing what went down was an eye opener. And during that time, again, I'm just a parent. You know, I don't like taking care of single mom, taking care of 2 girls, and you know, going to the apologetics program. So selling Girl Scout cookies. That's what I'm doing. And so I experienced a lot of really weird things that it seemed like it was connected to me speaking out about this election. And I had we were out camping with Girl Scouts, and somebody tried to break into our apartment, and we had 2 dogs at the time. One of them was a rescue that we had, you know, kind of this local rescue group was trying to help place it. After the break-in, somebody came and supposedly wanted this dog that we were fostering. And so I was talking to the guy, and I was mentioning our other dog, and he was like, oh, you have another dog? Oh, so what kind of dog is Shadow? And, you know, the name of our other dog. So I was just explaining that, you know, and then it turned out that, oh no, they didn't want the dog. So it seemed to me like they were sent to get the foster dog, thinking it was the only dog that we had in our house, so we wouldn't have a dog in there. There was, after the break-in, or they didn't break in, they tried to. They broke the window, and then the dog scared them off. But afterwards, one of the office people said that the maintenance guy went in the apartment above us was vacant, and he went up there, and there was this guy just walking around in there, and he asked him what was going on, didn't say anything, and left. I had the car I was driving at the time, the gas pipe got disconnected from like the tank. So like when you put gas in, it would go down, it would just fall out onto the ground. And so my neighbor fixed it, and he's like, I don't even know how this would happen. This is really weird. And there was just a bunch of really weird things. Like it just kind of nothing, like I was really aware of what it was, but as I was just reading about it, it seemed like my phone might have been hacked, and it was just like running super hot, you know, turning off and on it by itself. And so I just, you know, did a factory reset on it. And then there was somebody after that. There was somebody that showed up at the school board election was on Saturday. It was on Saturday. The final voting was on Saturday. And then on Sunday, this guy so this is the thing. I was teaching Sunday school at the time for the kids. And so, I would get there early, and then so I could set up for the class. And then I couldn't go to my Bible study that I went to after I taught Sunday school until we dropped off the kids at their like little worship service. And sometimes that wasn't until like 11 o'clock. And so I would be walking, a lot of times I would be going into my Bible study like 10, even 15 minutes late, because that was the time it took for me to get over to the other building and up the stairs. So I was going over to my Bible study, and it's on the second floor, and I was going up the stairs as this guy was coming down, and he just gave me this really weird, he just like looked at me like he recognized me, and he goes, "I'm looking for a singles Bible study." I was like, "Oh, okay, well," I said, "I don't," and this is again, it was after classes had already started. It was after 11. And I said, "Well, I don't know of one, but you can come to my Bible study if you want." And so he went in there, sat down. The guy acted like he'd never been to a Bible study ever in his life. He kept talking loud, like talking over people when they were talking about prayer requests. It was just weird. It's super weird. And then he kept making comments like as the pastor was giving the Bible study, and they were like, "Dude, you don't even know what you're talking about." And it was just, how you get a vibe about somebody? It was a vibe. And so after that, I told two of my friends this is the thing, you can't, and I knew all this other stuff was going on. I didn't even tell somebody about what all had happened until about a year ago. I told a friend of mine. But anyway, so after that, it was just so weird. I told two people that knew everything that was going on with the Bible study, or not the Bible study, but with the election, all the weird stuff. I said, just FYI, if anything happens, and I told them about the creepy guy, and they're like, "Well, maybe it's just a creepy guy." Like, okay, maybe, but I don't think so, compared with everything else. But those were things that had happened. So since then, I've been a little cautious about. I don't really post personal stuff on social media. It's just that, and there were some other things that I've just been really cautious about. So that was 2017. I posted this article on elections, faith, and parties in 2018, and I'm just thinking again, I'm just a mom teaching third grade Sunday school, going to the apologetics. At this point, I just graduated from the apologetics program. But anyway, it's my opinion, right? My blog, my opinion. I'll write what I want. And so anyway, about 6 months before that, I had read an open letter to Ted Cruz on the fact that I would never vote. He was caving. There was just a flasher. I don't know what that was for, but by the way, so I again have been massively like hacked on every single device I have. So if the stream goes out, then I'll figure something out. So anyway, so 2018 I post this, and I think that put me as a target. I mean, I never really paid attention at the time, but I think that made me a target for several different groups. I think it made me a target for, I don't know. I mean, based on things that have happened, I think it probably put me on people's radar because I did tag Ted Cruz on that. I also, a few months ago, or actually it was in December, and then right after I did this, I had like massive. That's when a lot of the hacking and stalking started after this happened. I wrote a letter against chaplains in public schools because that was something that the Texas legislature had passed. I have an article on my website. You can read it if you want to about why it's just so ridiculous and basically just a setup for lawsuits. But I sent that to our school board, and I also sent a copy to every single person in our state legislature. And it was after that all this really heavy stuff happened. So that's one thing. But I was also, I'll get to it, I was also causing some problems in some other areas. But anyway, going back to who I think it made me a target for this. Number one, I did, uh, I did tagged Ted Cruz and like, I think you're a hypocrite. I might have emailed it to him too. I don't know. I don't remember. That's been 6 years ago. Um, I think it also, I know that it has uh, made me a target with the GOP as a whole, because in this essay, what I talk about is how I was always like a very solid Republican voter, never even questioned voting for anyone else until, well, basically it was our school board, and then the fact that people that that Christians were excusing Trump's actions. And that basically, that was like, I'm not for that. That's not okay with me. I don't agree with that. But I also think it made me a target for the other side, because I am basically, if you've ever listened to the Lincoln Project, they talk about the movable middle. Like, you don't have to win everybody over, but you have to, there's some people who, doesn't matter what Trump does, he was right when he said in 2016 that he could shoot somebody in broad daylight and people would still vote for him. So, and he was right about that. But there are other people who can be persuaded, who have always been conservative, who can be persuaded, and the main target of that is educated evangelical women. Those were like the most movable, basically, and which is me. So I'm have been a Republican since I registered to vote at 18. Um, I still consider myself conservative. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a Republican anymore, and that actually took a long time. But I consider myself very conservative. And if you just look at, now, fundamentalist has like a different connotation, but if you look at like what the principles of fundamentalism are, I agree with the principles. I don't really necessarily agree with the application and how it turns out. So basically, I'm like what they need to duplicate. So I am this prototype of what they want to duplicate. So I think that may have put me as a target for a couple things. You may say, "Oh, that sounds a little crazy." Um, it is, but it does sound crazy. But I actually have evidence of that is the case. So anyway, it was a little bit longer than what I was going to talk about, but I'm just like the motivation. That's where I think it stemmed from, and I wasn't really. I thought it had to do something with something else up until today, when I think it does actually, a lot of the harassment that I've been experiencing. I think it does stem back to um, basically standing against, like, not going along with conservatives. I mean, I don't even call them conservative. It's just manipulation group right now as far as the Republican Party. But anyway, so I I saw that one post had a redirect on it. I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. And I've noticed, as I've been tracking down what some of these things are, what people are bothered by, because they're putting a lot of effort into hiding it and to removing it from search so it's not visible. So I was thinking, this is just this afternoon when I was getting ready, I was thinking, okay, I wonder if there's anything else that they've been trying to remove from search. So this is another one. And I this was which one? This one's on manipulation. So again, if you look in the search, this is what it came up for me. I do again, like, if you do your domain and the title of the search, it should come up. So this is something else for my site, but it's not the post that I'm looking for. And then this is another one. I clicked through on the other one about manipulation, recognizing manipulation. This is the one that it also has a redirect on it. And so you can see that they're putting, again, it's the same thing. They're putting the post title into the URL. And I think what they're doing is, like, if you have worked with WordPress, you can set the permalinks, and they could say, oh, well, it's just you set up your permalinks wrong. I've had these literally, I've had the site since 2013, and I did not set the permalinks wrong, and I go onto the site up until recently. I go onto the site pretty frequently, so that's just not something I would change. And then I was looking down, and this is recognizing manipulators. So that one was still in there from the search. But what they've done is basically quite a few of my posts, they have indexed messed up URLs, so it can't, even if you came across it and they completely wrecked my search rankings, it wouldn't go to the actual site. So anyway, so what was this one? I think I added some things. So I'm looking at the other one that they were targeting is my post when life seems overwhelming, and this was the URL, but also I've seen, since I started recognizing what it was, I saw how they were targeting all my platforms and trying to drown out my posts. And I just came across this today, so I haven't even gone back to look at what I say here. In this, it's one of my Sunday updates from last May, and it says, recognizing something, I can't even remember what the title is, but basically it's when life seems overwhelming. And when I do the articles for the posts, I don't like write it all out. I just put the overview and then put the links. And this is only a 30-minute video. And I went back to look because I was thinking, what did I say that is so troubling to them? And one of the things I said was, Jesus isn't a sellout. And I don't know if that's it. It also could be like mention of Bob Rehack and the work that he's done since then on, just trying to kind of preserve our communities and from overdevelopment and things. And, so it's not stop flooding. So anyway, that I just found out this afternoon. But what has been happening is I have been like, my sites have been targeted, and my devices have been hacked, and the Afghans have been targeted. I've had this, I know this sounds crazy, but I had just in the past week, I had 2 phone calls, and I'm pretty sure were not the people that who I thought they were. I think it was the cloned AI voices, just with some of the people behind it think they're pretty sneaky and shady, but they're not as good as I think they are. And so there were some tells in that. So anyway, but where it kind of like came to a head was, I have been not really been, I never used to like Twitter because it just seemed like a complete dumpster fire. And I would, I just knew more people individually on Facebook, right? And so, but then when all the, there's so many people that got, just the things that they were saying, the people that I knew, in church and from groups, and they just, the things that they were supporting and saying, it was just so upsetting to me that I just couldn't, I just couldn't see it anymore. So I went on Twitter because if somebody was going to say something that was really, off, then at least I'd rather it be like some random account that I didn't know rather than people I know in person. So I started, being on Twitter more, and I got in with a group of people that I thought, or accounts that seemed to think like me, like conservative Christian, always Republican or former Republican, never Trump, and that were, believe Matthew 25 said that, if you don't take care of the orphan and the foreigner, that, you're going to be condemned. I mean, the words in red, that Jesus actually means what he says, right? So anyway, got in this group. I would, go on Twitter. So like I'd follow Eric Feigl Ding, in 2020 when the world went crazy, I'd follow Eric Feigl Ding on Twitter and Dr. Peter Hotez about what was going on with COVID. And I followed like the Lincoln Project to see like what kind of craziness is going on with the election. And I followed Leslie Jones with her updates because, at the end and everything was so crazy and, freaking out. Then, that was Twitter for me. And then when I got involved with the Afghans, that was really the only place that I could find good information about, or really even any current information about Afghanistan. Because when I first got involved, and Mark and I were, just trying to figure out how to help them, there really was like no news. It was almost like it was a news embargo against any current news about what was going on in Afghanistan. So it took some time, but I was able to curate some accounts that I followed to get news there. And when I started doing my updates, I'd share those, and that was really where I got most of my information about Afghanistan. So, but during all this time, there's still a lot of local stuff going on, and there were, again, I'm in like in this in the middle of these accounts with certain mindset, what I thought were values, but there was a local, actually about vouchers in Texas, kind of what it was, the whole dilemma, the whole drama that was with our school board and the superintendent and the vote, the elections. Greg Abbott's trying to push vouchers on the state. And so I was watching the accounts and that I was around, and interacting with them. And I noticed a pattern between them. And it made me think, okay, they're not acting independently. And at first I thought it might have been just like a group of people that, maybe another group were sharing information, like, hey, promote this offline. That's what I thought it was. But as I started watching a little bit more, I saw that these aren't actual accounts. And I think it was probably, I realized that they were sock puppet accounts. And so the difference is, so what a sock puppet account is, so like there's different kinds of fake accounts. So a fake account is when you just like create an account and it's mostly automated. It's just making replies and things on based on certain criterias, and there's really not a lot of interaction. A sock puppet account is when it's created with a persona, and that it may not be, there's probably some automation that's going on with it, right? But it's there are actual operators behind it. And so anyway, this is the thing. I have not, everything I'm saying now are just things that I'm think this is what's going on based on what I've observed. I've never had any of them actually acknowledge or tell me like this is how things work, but based on what I'm seeing, this is what I think is going on. So I had, if you are familiar at all with like just for web, for search optimization, it used to be that you would want SEO friendly or search engine optimized friendly content on your website so you could get keywords, right? Get ranking for certain keywords on your site. That used to be based on links coming to your site. And so there was a lot of effort towards creating that content. And so sometimes, depending on how much effort people were putting into that particular site, what they would do is they would have a certain keyword phrase that they'd want to do. And rather than like writing like a unique article for something, they would spin the content and they would basically replace words and then make a new version of it that's pretty different, but is basically the same thing over and over again, right? So this is just an example so I can show you what something like this would look like. And this is a passage from The Prince by Machiavelli. And I just went through and I inserted, you can see like the different ones, like different synonyms. So just imagine that there's a program that this is fed into that takes all of those things. Just imagine like how many variations of that passage you come up with, and with those variables, right? So the program would pick one of those words that are out of each of those selections and create a new version. So what I was seeing was all of these sock puppets, right? And I could tell that they were, as I was watching the patterns, I could tell that they're niched into particular, like they have particular personas. But then there are different like they would have, you could tell the similarities by like how they would set up their accounts. Like, so a lot of times they have emojis in them, and you could kind of tell like how they were coded so the operator would remember what that persona of that particular sock puppet account was going to be. So if you've ever asked yourself, why does somebody have that orange square in their profile? That's probably why. It's just like, this is what this person talks about. This is the stance they take, and then they literally say all their interests in there. I mean, that's why. It's not because it's interesting or engaging to anyone. It's so the operator remembers what that particular sock puppet account is supposed to be like. So one of the things that I've noticed, like in the patterns of behavior, that they have certain accounts were designed to be different things. And so the best description for me, like to see, like describe how it is, it's like a beehive. Just, by the way, some of these I did on Copilot, this AI generated. But so just imagine like you have some of the accounts were mainly more like drones, as in all they did was like and repost posts that were made by the niche in their particular network. Hardly ever made a comment themselves. It just repost, and like. And so I'm guessing that that's probably all automated. Very limited actual interaction with the operator. Then there were these worker bees that counts that they were just mainly there to just comment and interact with other accounts. And there's like certain accounts that are basically, what they do is they set up, they do these posts that are basically engagement based. But within each of these niche, you have like one or two like queen bees, or what you would, if it were for that particular niche. And so they're the ones that are being promoted to have influence outside the network beyond just the interaction with these little, worker bees and drone accounts. So with social media, what determines what comes across your feed is the amount of engagement, how soon it's engaged, or how soon somebody engages with it after it's post, how long they stay on it. And so if you want to be able, your post to be seen by more people, then it has to be the algorithm, the social media algorithm is going to look at the amount of engagement. And so the way to control that is if you have a crap ton of accounts and you manipulate it. So I came across one account that was linking to a site by an agency that said that they had built over the past, I don't know, 2-3 years, 500,000 brand accounts, what they call brand accounts. And this is what I'm like describing as these queen bee accounts. And so what I'm guessing based on what I saw was that they're probably not 500,000 individual niches. It's probably 500 topics. And then they have probably 1,000 queen bee accounts within that niche. And then who knows how many millions of supporting accounts to boost and bump those up. Because like I said, they don't actually, they're not creating each individual one. They're not like, it's not unique. It's not, individual thing. It's, they're posting the same things across all the accounts, all the main accounts on these niches, and they're just spinning it. And then they repost the same things. Like once they built up like content on that particular account, they they will just keep reusing it. Okay. So what this one is, like, this is just kind of an example that I was thinking of. So let's just say, and even like the personas, they're not unique personas. They'll just like, they kind of spin those too. So let's say you have, Bob, who is a plumber, and this is like the niche, right? So this is a persona. Bob, who's a plumber, who likes bacon and the Astros, right? And then he'll do almost the same exact, but then they create like another clone of it, and maybe his name is Rob the realtor and he likes cheese. So they just replace like little details, and then they just multiply them across their niches. If you think about the like the Flash and how they have multiverses, it's kind of like that. So what is the point? You say like, okay, so people are making fake accounts, so what, big deal? Okay, so it's relevant. Like I said, this is Social Pilot. They have and I'll link to this in the article for that I have for this stream. They actually give an illustration of how this is Twitter specifically determines what's going to show in your feed. And so this is just a diagram, right? So just keep this in mind, an algorithm is just numbers. It's just numbers. So if you remember back in 2016, there was that big, scandal about Cambridge Analytica when they were basically using advertising to target voters and influence them, right? Huge scandal. I don't even know what happened. I think there were some investigations over it. I don't know what happened. After that, there was a huge change. If you advertise on social media or any sort online at all, there was a lot of changes to that, and they were trying to keep that from happening to protect people's privacy. Okay, so that's ads. So it's a little more difficult to target people with ads. However, this is the thing. When they have such a mass amount of sock puppets, they can use, it's not about like, they don't need to rely on demographics from some advertising platform. They can target individual people. They can, again, it's just numbers. Like, they can follow certain things, they can do certain amount of engagements, they can do certain likes, so that they can manipulate things coming up in your feed. So what's coming up in that feed for social media, unless if you, especially on Twitter, any of them actually, unless if you aggressively and actively mute, block, and do everything you can to try to keep the fake accounts from interacting with you, what is going to be showing up in your feed is going to be something that someone has manipulated for you to see. So that's just the open feed. Okay, so then this is another article about the ad IDs for basically at Google and Apple. They're supposed to be anonymous, but they're not really. They can still use them to not only like show you ads on whatever platform you are on, but also to locate you physically. So they know basically the general area where you are. And this is an article that I'll link to in the post on my site about it, how the Pentagon learned to use targeted ads to find its target and Vladimir Putin. So they learned from people doing online ads and online marketing. Okay. So this is the type of thing that can be done with it. And then also, this is from the FTC. It came out earlier this year. They have been looking at this as Consumer Protection Data Spotlight. Social media is a golden goose for scammers. You have no idea, and I'm not even going to get into all of it. Right now I'm just explaining kind of like how I got into all of this and the types of things that have um, been done. Because originally I could tell, like, after it started in December, I could tell that people were um, trying to like locate me, like on there would be clicking on my iPad, and then there would be screenshots in there, like somebody was hacking. I don't even know what they were doing, but trying to see what I was working on my iPad. There were locations set as home that weren't. It was just really, really weird. I had the same thing. There's things that were happening with my phone too, just a lot of different things. And so anyway, I was like that this is weird. And all the whole time while I'm doing this, um I'm calling out a lot of the fake accounts that I'm seeing because first of all, I'm just out there doing my thing. I didn't ask to be basically gang stalked and have my feed trampled on and taken over by a bunch of fake accounts. Was not asking for that. And I have done what I can to, when I recognize that something is a puppet account, I, mute it, you know, so I'm not seeing it. But anyway, so let's see. So this is the thing to keep in mind. So first of all, algorithms are only formulas and they calculate numbers. That's what they are. They're not sentient. They like the Google algorithm doesn't like know, you know, it's not a person determining what's going to show in your feed. I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, they're just targeting us. They're like restricting my feed." Nobody's restricting your feed. It's sock puppets that are manipulating you out of it. That's the thing. You are not getting exposure and reach because this mass amount of fake accounts is drowning you out. This is what's happening. Okay, so it's just algorithms are just about numbers, and whoever controls the numbers control the algorithm. And they are, the people that do this are not just, sitting there manually doing it. They have programs that are calculating this, right? So anyway, again, mass amount of numbers, right? You can control the algorithm and what's in front of somebody's face. Okay. So this is what's going on. So I have been basically subsumed into this niche that are supposed to be conservative Christians, never Trump, right? So what I start seeing on this is like sometimes there's people who are pretending or who say that they're pastors, these accounts. And this has happened a couple times. They would, and I didn't always get into it when I saw the bad takes, but I was like, this is one where I had interacted with this account before. And so I can't even remember. I mean, I do have screenshots of it on Twitter, but can't even remember exactly what it was, but he had something. I'm like, that's not right. So I'm in this conversation. And so then I go back and I look and I see that he had muted everything that I said and then removed me as a follower. And I'm like, you're a pansy. I mean, like, you're supposedly like, you present yourself as authority. You can't even handle a discussion. So anyway, so I'm calling that out. And I'm noticing that I swear it almost seemed like people were getting bounties or something if I was interacting with them. But I see that there are threads that are basically in front of my feed, almost like it's not almost like it was like they were designed specifically so I would interact with them. But I recognize that they were fake accounts. I'm like, you know what? Forget this. I'm not going to I'm not going to engage with this. I just, the manipulation really, really aggravates me. But it wasn't just like things coming up in my feed. Like I noticed that a lot of the Christian like authors and influencers, like people that I know that are real people, that they have all the sock puppet engagement. And I'm thinking, okay, so these accounts, these sock puppet accounts, must be owned and managed by social media agencies, or like PR or promotion agencies or marketing or whatever they call themselves. So they probably own a bunch of these accounts, and so they've created all um, these accounts, these in these niches, so they can promote their clients with, right? Okay, so here's where we can start getting into the problem, where it really starts, where I'm really starting to get heated about it. And what I saw was that some of these accounts that are promoting these Christian authors and influencers, they're also promoting heresies. And I mean, when I say heresies, I mean like every single distinctive of the Christian faith, like the necessity of the atonement. They're really attacking that Isaiah 53, it was about Jesus, the fall, the nature of sin, hell, the reality of hell. That was another one that they were hitting pretty hard. And so that really started infuriating me, because what they're using, so what I think was happening is that this was a social media company that was managing the social media for most of these were authors and influencers. And I don't know if it was the individual author or if it was a publisher that was doing this. That would have been paying for it. I don't know. But what it seemed like to me is that they were managing it, and since they're managing it, they're having the person, right, interact with other of their stable of accounts, other of their queen bees, giving authority to this sock puppet account. So and this is one of these I saw, it was with Beth Allison Barr's account. So she had published some article about something, and she made a post, and this is on Threads. Same kind of thing happens on all of them. She made a post on Threads, and then this other account, the one that happens to mute all my posts, made almost an exact same account on their own account. So because I had interacted with Beth Allison Bars, this is what was the tell for me, because I had interacted with hers, this sock puppet account, the one I knew that was a sock puppet account, showed up in my feed. And then I realized what they were doing. So they take the author, right? So they get these clients. Let's just use Beth Allison Bars as an example. They get her as a client, whether it's her or it's the publisher, I don't know. They get her as a client, and people know that she's a real person. And so they're interacting with her, right? So they have their queen bee, their sock puppet queen bee. They have Beth Allison Barr talking to them like she knows them, like they're a real person. And so Beth Allison Barr's real followers follow this sock puppet account. And so what they're doing is they're taking the author, the actual person, and they're since as they are posting similar content, they're pulling and they're getting the clients real followers. But the odds are that what the client is getting is sock puppets. And so those new sock puppet followers that they get, once that PR company or agency, whatever, once they're not paid, you're never going to get an interaction for them, because they're fake. They're not real people. And that will be like a weight and just dragging your account down, because your engagement rate is going to tank, because most of what they were getting for you was fake. But the agency is actually, they're going to have some sock puppets or they're going to have some real followers that they've siphoned off of their real account for their sock puppet. So, I don't know I mean, that's one thing. But what was infuriating to me was that these same accounts that were in this niche, this little pool that's designed to pull the real followers of these Christian clients. These were accounts that, again, that were promoting heresies. They were also same accounts that are promoting the Christian clients. Oh, they're promoting porn accounts, because this is the thing, you can't promote, especially on Twitter, you can't promote porn directly. And so what they have are basically digital pimps, and they create a whole narrative around these, these OnlyFans, I don't know what you call them, models, whatever. They create a story for them, a whole narrative. They just make a whole thing up. And so they do these. I saw this one, and it was like, oh yeah, this is my wife. It's like, it's not your wife. This is an OnlyFans account, but they'll put it up there so that if somebody who's just thinking, oh, I'm in this whole group of Christian believers, and then plop, you have into your feed OnlyFans content. Anyway, so I was seeing those things, and it really started making me angry, and so I just started calling them out. And then I start getting, so all this time I've been dealing with weird things, like kind of seemed like my laptop might have been hacked. I was pretty sure people were trying to locate me. I was like, I really didn't know exactly what the deal was, but anyway, so that's going on. And as I'm putting this, calling them out more, they're floating posts in my feed that are basically threats, and like indirect threats. There were some of them, like they had videos of me, and I'm thinking, I don't even know. Like, I'm thinking, if you somehow got access to a camera where I'm at and have something, I mean, and you're getting your kicks off of somebody who's almost an art member, that's on you. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, yes, I'm a human being. I have a body. I don't know what you think you're proving other than you're a criminal. You don't need to prove that to me. I know that you are. So anyway, and then besides that, even if it was all indirect, right? And it was just all these like threats and things. And it's like, how can you go and say anything? Because it's like, oh, it's some anonymous post. It doesn't name you directly, but they were using, this is how I knew that they were hacking me, is because they would make comments and then float in my feed about places that I was, about things that it seemed like they had been hacking my email, things that were in this one person was pretending like she was like some sort of psychic, and what I could tell was she had hacked somehow got access to my search history on Google, and I had searched for something, but she was like completely off about why I had searched for it. She just like made something up. So anyway, all of those are things that are going on. And I'm thinking, but how can you say anything? I mean, how can you say anything about that? And so then I get some obvious evidence of my laptop being hacked. I have photos of it. Obvious evidence. I'm thinking, okay, so not happy that my laptop is hacked, but I'm thinking at least I have evidence, and I'm going to be able to go to the FBI and say, hey, this is what happened. Because if you go to the FBI site and if you search for what happens if you're hacked, they tell you to file a police report, go to the FBI, and the other one is Secret Service. So I did all of those things. And so this is what happened. I called the FBI, and she blew me off, didn't even give me a case number. She said, if you think you're being threatened, call the police. Call the police, tell them what's going on. I said, and when I called dispatch, like I said, I wanted somebody to come to the door, because with all the cloning and everything, like voice cloning, who knows? Who knows who it could be, right? Instead, somebody calls me, and she said, I'm too busy. I'm not going to be able to come out. And so can you tell me what? And she's like, well, it sounds like not a virus. It was not a virus. It was hacking. Nothing, right? So whatever. So keep going on. Then the next month, in May, I were in the process of getting out this is the journal I work on, an unexpected journal. I mean, it's a volunteer thing because I've invested 6 years of my life in this. It's a volunteer thing. But when I say I've invested 6 years of my life, I mean huge amounts of my life. And the thing is that the people that have been harassing me and stalking me, their intent is they've literally gone after every single thing that they know that I've invested my time in. That's important to me. So anyway, we're trying to get this out. All the while, this is happening. Another computer hack, and they wipe the registry, and it's like, I know it's like worthless, like contacting the FBI and the police about it. They're not going to do anything. And so, but then there's sabotage on this issue. There's a essay that's like completely messed up. And so I'm thinking that was obvious. It was an obvious mess up, right? It's obvious hack. But I'm thinking, I wonder if there's anything that was less obvious. So it's taking us a lot more time to get it out because my computer has been hacked and I had to, go through time to restore it. And then there's issues, there's essays that are sabotaged. And so we took extra time to get it out because I'm like, you guys, we need to make sure that these things are right, because I already see that there's sabotage in here. And so we sent individual copies of every contributor's essay to them and asked them to sign off on it, to read over it and sign off on it, that was actually what they said, because, who knows, somebody could go in and being malicious could change like a footer or something, or a paragraph or a line, and then, if somebody could come across it and say, oh, well, call us out for putting out false stuff, so anyway, that took more time. So while we're doing that, we're trying to get this issue out on Modernity. And then one of our board members puts back let me see. He shows the listing of, there's another listing of our Dostoevsky issue that came out in December. And so our Advent issue that was listed as a pre-order. And so what the deal was, wait, no, that's not the right one. Okay. I think some of my slides are missing. Yeah. A lot of my slides are missing. Okay. Big surprise. And these are all going to be in the article on my website. I'll put the screenshots in since they're not showing up here. So what had happened, it was that there was another listing besides ours that was listed as a pre-order, and the pre-order date was 6 months out. And it was actually getting sales on this, or supposed sales on this, because if you know how Amazon ranking works, it had a higher ranking on that fake pre-order than it was than our listing, right? The real listing. And so what it seemed like to me was that the intent was to suppress sales of that issue, because if somebody goes and they look up the Dostoevsky issue of an unexpected journal, and the first one that comes up, yeah, I had screenshots on here. The first one that comes up is one that is you won't be able to get to November. Then do you think they're going to order it for something 6 months out? Probably not. And what I found was that every day that I go and check, the pre-order date got moved out. So what that told me that this wasn't just a one-time thing. It was, this is part of a syndicate that has like a whole system of putting up listings. I went down and I looked and I was comparing the details. It basically had, taken our cover, our description, put the pre-order up. But this is the thing on Amazon, if you're listing if you sell, just go as like an individual person and you want to go and have publish a book, you can bring your own ISBN, which is the unique number that every single book has, is the ISBN number. You can bring your own, or you can go to Amazon and they'll give you a free one. But if you use a free one on Amazon, what it will say as a publisher is independently published. So if you go and you look on book listings, that's what it means. It means it's an indie author, an author that's publishing themselves that hasn't bought their own ISBN, and they're using a free Amazon ISBN number, which is what we have done with the journal since we began, because we don't have funding. We're just totally bootlegging it. And that's just what we've done. The one of the fake listing was, it had a publisher name on it. So ours is a real listing, does not. It says independently published because we use free Amazon ISBNs. But on the fake listing, it said Unexpected Journal and had the ISBN number. So here's the thing with that. You can go to Bowker or myidentifiers.com and you can buy ISBNs. If you buy one, I think it's still this price. It was $125. If you buy 10, it's like, I don't remember. But when you buy 500 at a time, that's when you start getting a price break. And then, if you're publishing all the time, you'd buy thousands. So you're only paying like $1 or $2 for ISBNs. But on Bowker, your person, like, you have an account as an entity, right? Like as a publisher or a person, but they have imprints. They have an imprint option where you can add imprints to your Bowker account that you want to publish under. So I have an account with Bowker and a publishing company, and I have different imprints depending on the genre that I'm publishing a book in. So what somebody had done is they went to Bowker and they put Unexpected Journal and assigned that ISBN to that listing. And so I'm like, okay, so they've blown me off about the hacking. They've blown me off about the stalking and the threats, but I'm sure that they can track this down because they can go to Bowker and they can see who this ISBN is assigned to. And because of some other things that had gone on both on social media and, just the whole thing with the sabotage of the journal and just several things, when this happened, when there was a fake listing, I knew one of the people behind it, actually two people behind it. And so I called the FBI again and I told them, explained what had happened, explained the history of what had been going on. And again, they dismissed what I said, and they said just file a report on IC3, which is like the online reporting. So here's the thing: I had filed a report a year ago when I had somebody harassing me, and it was clear. I mean, there was no question about it. I never got anyone. No one contacted me, not a single thing. There wasn't even, other than a submission on IC3 where it said, hey, yeah, we got your submission. That was it. Nobody, never, ever, no one contacted me. Nobody, there was nothing happened. So I'm thinking, okay, so I talked to a friend of mine and I was telling him, like, my devices are being hacked, my phone's being hacked, what should I do? And he said the FBI won't get involved unless if it's worth like $7 million. And he said, just get a new laptop and get a new phone, or do a factory reset of your phone. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking it should be pretty easy to track down who's behind this by just a simple thing. Like, I don't have the ability to do this, but somebody should be able to. And we did report it to Amazon, and they said, oh, well, we'll invest. It's flash again. They removed the listing. Amazon removed the listing for a little bit when it was a pre-order, but then it was back online as a sale. What did Amazon do? Nothing. I don't know. So anyway, so I'm thinking they're not going to listen to me because they haven't, because I've already called them and told them. And so I'm going to need to demonstrate that this is not just about me, just them sending me threatening things and hacking my phone, which obviously is not enough of an issue for the FBI to get interested in or take care of. Which, by the way, if that's the case, then take it off your flipping website, okay? Because I followed the instructions and you all didn't do squat. So anyway, I thought I'm going to have to document what this syndicate, because that's what it was. It wasn't just, I knew one of the people that I was certain that was behind at least part of it. And I was pretty sure why. Is a man that I told him he was wrong about something he believed. Imagine that. What am I thinking? A woman telling a man that he's wrong. So anyway, so I I'm gonna have to document because they're not going to just listen to. Obviously, they don't care if it's just me. So I spent the next 2 months documenting the things that I saw. All the while, they're still hacking me. They're still going after my business sites, going after my ministry site. They're literally hacking my computer, and this is like I'll be sitting there write for hours and then they'll sabotage the site. So that's, or not the site, but the file, like they go into Scrivener. They figured out how to go into Scrivener because that's what I write on, and corrupt the last file that I was working on. So I would lose all the words. They would put up in the Windows Start menu, they'll put all these, it would just pop up, these weird search phrases that I hadn't entered just to try to mess with me so that they would know that, so I would know that they were still there. And they could do what they wanted, and there was nothing I could do about it. After I called the FBI in April, the hacking got exponentially worse. Exponentially worse. It was like they knew when they figured out the FBI wasn't going to do anything, they just went to town because there's nothing. They just knew that they could. So anyway, spent 2 months on this documenting everything. It ended up being 33,000 words. Was it 33? 30,000 words, 198 pages. And I had 46 areas of where I was giving illustrations of what I was talking about. I don't know what's up there. It's what it looks like to me. Oh, this is the Dostoevsky listing. Okay, I do have it. Sorry. Some of my stuff is missing now. So this is what I'm talking about. This is a copy of that page of the exhibits of what I was talking about, like the duplicate listing. And the thing is, the fake listing was showing up first, and then when you looked on mobile and actually on desktop, there would be 2 sponsored searches. So our listing, the real listing, was below the fold, so you wouldn't even go and look. So it was basically completely diverting any sales from the journal. So anyway, I filed that complaint on last Sunday, a week ago. This is July 28th. And because I'm thinking, okay, so they're not going to do it because it's just me, but my objective was to show that it was a criminal syndicate that was, behind targeting me, that it was worth way more than $7 million about their criminal activities that they're involved in. I mean, involved in all kinds of things. I mean, just what I can see is like porn, I'm sure, extortion, stock manipulation, trade restriction, all, you name it. I mean, it's basically like the digital mafia. Like that's basically what they're doing. So anyway, that was a week ago. They got no response. I did also file a complaint with the Department of Justice because what it seemed to me like was that they were dismissing what I was saying because I'm a woman with a Hispanic last name. I also think that's why I didn't take it seriously last year when I filed a complaint. I also last year had filed a complaint with the Texas Attorney General's because I had evidence, straight up evidence, that Amazon was skimming sales. So here's the thing, like on Amazon, when you do this, direct print publishing, it gives individuals access, the ability to publish books, right? But this is the thing about it. Amazon is the printer. They are in control of the marketplace. They process all the sales, and there is no all you know is what they choose to show you. So you have no idea with whether or not the numbers that they're telling you of your sale are weird, are correct. And I have been very I don't trust. I mean, it is what it is at this point, but I haven't trusted Amazon's reporting for a long time because I know that they have, even just like on affiliate sales, I know that they skim those. I've had people say, "Oh, I bought this, and this, that you recommended," and nothing shows up. You get reports on that, nothing shows up. So I know that they do that. I mean, they even if they track it, they find reasons to deny it. Okay, so I've been skeptical of it, and I have known that they had skimmed uh, digital sales because we came out with the science fiction issue. The 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 cover illustrator, he bought a digital copy as soon as it came out, and then he sent a message, and he was upset because I had moved the circles on the cover. That sale never showed up in our sales. And at the time, we start to get more digital sales now, but everything's available for free online. So people can read for free if they want to read digitally. So at the time, we weren't really getting a lot of online sales. But if we are, then we should at least get the money for it. And that I know for sure that Amazon skimmed. So what had happened last year is I had to remove a listing of a book, and they weren't coming off. I sent a message to Amazon asking them what the deal was, and they said, "Well, we have stock on hand." So sometimes when they do direct to print, they'll print an extra copy of the book so they can ship it faster. So I'm like, okay, so can you please tell me, like, how many how many are that you have in stock that we need to get out? And they wouldn't tell me. Well, that's like proprietary information. It's my book that I published. Why won't you tell me the stock that you have? Because so I had to order to be able to clear it out because I wanted it off. I had to order from my personal account 2 of the books that were still showing as limited availability. Ordered 2 of them to see if, to just try to clear it out. I couldn't order it on as an author copy because in order to do that, I would have had to republish the books again because that's the only way you can order an author copy on Amazon. So anyway, I get the books. I look at the royalties because I'm thinking, well, this is going to cost me money to get them off, but at least, I'll get back the money for the royalty for the book, right? I only got credited one of the 2 books that I bought for the royalty. So it was listed on my publisher account. I ordered it from my personal account, and only one of the 2 sales was recorded. One of those books still online, so they must have had something else, another copy in stock. So I again order another copy of the book, the one book that's left, and it never recorded the royalties. Okay, so I reported this, and I can complain to Amazon about it. You already got paid royalties for it. Okay, so here's the thing. You can tell the day a book was printed. Do you see that? It tells you where and when the book was printed. That's not true. It was printed after I had ordered it. It was not in stock. So anyway, you're just straight up skimming sales. And so anyway, Amazon didn't do anything. So I filed a complaint with the Texas Attorney General's office. Never heard anything back about it. So I thought, while I'm here, while I'm already filing a complaint with the Justice Department because the FBI has been blowing me off, I'm going to file a complaint about the Texas Attorney General also not even following up on my complaint. And the only response I've gotten in the last week from anyone after spending 2 months on, taking time to outline everything was a response from the Department of Justice dismissing both of those reports that I filed. So they said, it's nothing, we're not going to do anything about it. So anyway, so that was Sunday. And I had been, at least I'm thinking, at least I've gotten it in. At least I'm, going to start being able to, move on to something else. So Monday, I'm just happened to go browse on Facebook, and the first thing that shows in my feed is a post in a Facebook group for Christian book reviews, and I have seen these sock puppets so much. I know I can spot them. I know exactly how they work and how they operate. And it was this really inane post about uh, the abolition of man, and by C.S. Lewis. And I was reading through the comments. This whole string of sock puppets responding, and I'm sure there were some real people in there too. But it was basically a hatchet job on the abolition of man by C.S. Lewis, like basically saying that Lewis's theology is not sound and it's not a good book, and I don't recommend it, and all of this. So I'm like, what is this? Is this like a smear campaign against C.S. Lewis? I don't know. I didn't really, but it seemed to me like it tied into what I was seeing on Twitter and social media with all the heretical threads and the overt attack of destroying and undermining all the distinctives of Christianity. And so here's the thing about C.S. Lewis. I have several videos about him and his books on my site and on my web on YouTube. And he is he's one of the primary apologists for Christianity of the 20th century. And there are so many people that have read his book, Mere Christianity, and have become a Christian. And so if you have somebody who's never, all they're familiar with Lewis is about his fairy tales, like Chronicles of Narnia, then and then they read, I mean, he's very powerful philosophical and theological writings, and very, very powerful. And what you're reading, if you don't know anything else, then all you're reading is basically all these people who supposedly know something that he's not sound and can't be trusted, and you don't know that these are sock puppet accounts. What are you going to do? Okay, so that's just the average person reading it. Besides this, I don't have a screenshot of this, but it is in the report that I submitted to the FBI. Have you noticed on Facebook that all the right, if you go to search, the first thing underneath it is all these AI suggestions for what to search for. So what was showing up on my search for like weeks were things about Jerry Brooks. And if you don't know who he is, he's a teacher that kind of came on the scene during COVID and all the stay at home stuff. He's like a principal. I mean, he's funny. He's a funny guy. Like, I watched his stuff a couple times in 2020. I have not interacted with his stuff since at all. And every single day, if I go to search on Facebook, it's something. What is Jerry Brooks' impact on social media? What is Jerry Brooks' advice to new teachers? So let's go back. Let's go back and look at this. So, like I said, whoever controls the numbers controls the algorithm, right? So those AI prompts are being manipulated by all these fake accounts and their engagement and these comments that they're making. So again, AI does not oh. So this is one of my slides that is missing. So the slide that isn't here. And so what this tells me, this is what I suspected since I realized like how much they have been interfering with and damaging everything that I do. A lot of the problems I've been having with StreamYard, I don't think it was my computer. I don't think it was StreamYard. I don't think it was my connection. I think it was these petty and basic criminals just causing problems. And the fact that that slide is missing confirms it. What I said was AI cannot qualify information. It can only quantify it. It only counts. It doesn't, it's impossible for AI to evaluate whether the information that's being put out there is good or not. Okay? AI quantifies, it does not qualify. It does not qualify. So you push enough crap, and AI is going to come back. These AI suggestions, that's what's going to come back as a bunch of crap. And this is what I've seen. Like, you do any sort of search about theology, now all these AI generated prompts, they're bad. Anything about the Bible, it's bad. Never ever take anything about the Bible or theology or God from that AI prompts and summaries, because what it's choosing is the most that's been pushed. And that's what it is. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. Whatever. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Petty and basic criminals, they just have one note, right? So Monday, I see this basically complete smear campaign against C.S. Lewis. I'm like, this is just bizarre. This is so weird. What's going on here? And then I'm looking, and what I've noticed a lot in with like all these sock puppets and social media is that I would say something, and then I'd see details of what I had said in their sock puppet posts. And like basically like creepy obsessive stalkers basically ripping off every single thing I say to incorporate into their fake bogus accounts. So I knew that was happening. I've seen things that I was like, that looks like that looks like people like disability niche accounts. That looks like Zach stuff. This is the thing. So they don't promote. This is the thing about social media. Social media is supposed to be social, right? You're supposed to be able to meet other people, make relationships. Sock puppets, there's nothing social about them because they're not real. And they're basically like the digital black hole, and they take everything and consume it, and you get nothing back. If they thought Zach's stuff was good, why not just promote Zach's stuff? Why not just promote Zach's stuff? How about that? Oh, because then they wouldn't be getting the attention. So they have to find anything that is good, and then they steal it and they incorporate it into their stuff. So I knew that was going on. But what I didn't know, and that I didn't discover until Tuesday morning, was so all this that I'm saying now was not in that initial report, and I'm going to be making another one. What I discovered was, and I'm not going to say where it is, because I'm sure that there's more than one place that this has happened. And I want the evidence to stay up there. So there's a pretty significant platform, Christian platform, and I'm looking at it, and there were some reflections, and they were my words, exactly. Not spun, not anything, exactly verbatim, my words. They also, the same platform, were taking, again, not going to say what it is, but taking things that I've published and putting it up there. And then I come across books that look to me like they've downloaded transcripts of my videos, put them together and spun them. And not only do they spin them, but they basically take, this is what I just found today. They took my Easter series, and they'll just take it and they spin it. And if you know how, like, when you've been in school and you have to write 5,000 words, but you don't really have anything to say, so you say the same thing over and over again, like that. Like something could be, a paragraph could be one line, but they blow it up to a paragraph, and it's just a bunch, I can tell where they're getting it, but it's basically that it's so polluted, it's basically a bunch of garbage, and then they spun it to different topics. So they had 3 books where, out of, anyway, saw that they have basically, not only have they been putting my stuff on social media, because, it's like, I think what it is, that these are people that, this is what I'm assuming. Or what I had assumed. I don't think it's only that, though. Now that I think that there may be other people that have a different agenda, that they just want to wipe out like any of my authorship, presence, voice at all, because I'm a Christian that won't vote for Trump. I think that's what it is. But anyway, they've literally taken every single thing that I've written in the past decade, and they've stolen it. And they've taken it and they've put it into probably ghostwritten for other authors or whatever, and just used in different things because they don't know themselves, so they have to steal mine. And there was that, and then so I had just realized that, and it was a little bit, it was a lot, because just the malignance of it. And so then after that, I realized it's not just me. They're also trying to dupe the journal and copying everything that we do. And there has been a lot of sabotage on not only the issues, but on the journal site. Things that have basically damaged its visibility. And I came across a site where I could see that they were ripping off other people that I knew. So what part of this is, like I said, there are agencies that have clients that are, do certain things, but they also have owned accounts. So they have owned accounts on social media, these sock puppets. They also have, I think, what are fronts as far as authors. So they have somebody that's kind of like the face, right? And they ghostwrite books, and then they put this person out around on the circuits on conferences. And so whether it's just a money thing or agenda thing, I don't know. They also do it on YouTube. Like a lot of the people that are on YouTube, they're not like, the theory of or the motto, the logo for slogan for YouTube used to be broadcast yourself. To me, any person could go on and have a platform. Well, a lot of the people that are on there, they're basically, it's not their own account. They're just a front for an agency owned account. A lot of like the drama and stuff that you see on this is the one that I noticed lately, Meg Bashan. Yeah, it's just that's a whole manufactured thing. Anyway, but as outside of Christian circles, they just have, it's like the sock puppets online, these brand accounts. These are not people that are building their own channel. They're just faces on these brand accounts, and the agencies are getting the money for them. And again, on these agency owned ones, they have, the reason that they get exposure is because they also have a lot of fake accounts on YouTube that are manipulating the algorithm. So anyway, so after I submitted it on the report about the hacking and the theft of the journal issue on Sunday, still haven't received a response. I went to and then I start realizing the extent of the theft of intellectual property, that basically, again, like every single thing that I've done or said, they steal and incorporate in their stuff. And what is super aggravating, it's like they don't even put any effort into it. I mean, the first one that I came across that I found was this was like at the beginning of the parables of Jesus, when I was doing the parables of Jesus in 2020. And it was just this butt ugly cover. I mean, I have to say, it isn't as ugly as some of the covers that they have, but it was just real basic, no effort. And so I went in, and I could tell that they had, it's not just me, they'll take like multiple sources and kind of mix them together. So it's not, totally identifiable. And I could tell that they had picked the top, the most viewed or most searched for parables to include. And so again, it's like basically about the numbers, right? And I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of reading through, and as I'm reading it, it just seems kind of like there were some things that were good, and I'm sure they were, because they found some good sources, but it just felt real skippy. Like, I can read fast, and so it wasn't smooth. It wasn't like this logical flow. And I think it was because it was just spun, and who knows how many other versions of that same book that they have. So, but they got to one, and these were, because I was going back and like, when did I do these parables? Because I didn't go by search volume. I went by, okay, God, what do you want me to be doing next? And so I wasn't going by keywords or search. I was like, okay, what are we going to talk about next, God? And so when they got to one that they included that I hadn't got to yet, they completely missed the point. They completely missed the point because they don't get it. I mean, the people that are putting out all this Christian content, they're not Christians themselves. Most of them aren't. Most of them aren't. A lot of them behind it aren't. But I'm going to get to that. So anyway, I'm finding out that everything that I have has been stolen, and the hacking still. I mean, hacking and attacks on my site is still continuing, and so and I'm realizing that it's more it's more than just me. That there's a lot of people I know. It's almost like this is what it's like. They don't know what good is themselves. So everybody I mentioned that I think is awesome, they go after, and they either try to clone them or take them in as a client or basically take them over. This is just, I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually true. Is they don't know squat. They don't know anything. So they have to try to mimic. So anyway, but it was finding the journal. I can't remember. Anyway, it's just been, this whole last week has been just a cascade of revelation about, like, back in April when I called the FBI. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody that was involved. I had no idea about why even anyone would be after me. Again, like, why am I so threatening? You know, I do have strong opinions about things, but you know, I'm just sitting here doing Bible studies, teaching Afghans. Like, what is it about me that you find so threatening? And it's just so weird. May, I knew 2 people that were involved, and I named them in my complaint. But that's all I knew at the time. So if the FBI had actually responded to me in back in April, they might have just told me how to fix a hack, and that would have been it. Who knows if anybody would have been exposed. But then there were a number of things that happened, and I realized that it wasn't just the 2 people. I mean, I knew them, but not, well. But that people I know were involved in the theft of the intellectual property. And it's just like over the last 3 days that I've realized that. And so here's the thing. I have a feeling that I do think it kind of, the impetus behind it goes back just from the way my things have been targeted. I do think it goes back to the whole political thing. I do think it does. I do think it does. But I think that my friends were targeted to be part of sabotaging me, because it's somebody that I wouldn't expect. And the thing is, I've seen how I have not essays, but I have videos on this, how manipulators work. And I've seen how they work through the school board, how they do. And they never come at you directly. They never never involve themselves directly. They're at least 2 to 3 degrees out. So the person that's doing the dirty work, they may only be doing one little piece, but they don't know the whole picture, but they probably don't even know the actual person behind it. And so if it gets discovered, then that last person, the bottom of the totem pole, they're the ones that are going to take the fall. You know, like I said, they really are posts about
you know, videos or photos or something, I'm like, okay, show me. Please show me, and so I can take action of them. And I actually said to the people in the apologetics group, because they were threatening to, they were saying, oh, well, we'll share it with your friends. Okay, I would hope that somebody would tell me and come to me and ask me about it, but that didn't happen. And I'm sure that did happen, but nobody said anything to me. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people that know about some of the efforts to sabotage me. And, you know, I mean, the goal has been to isolate me from everybody that I'm associated with and affiliated with, and, whatever. So I just have to say this. I don't know what the conversation was like and how you got involved. I don't. But what I have noticed, and what I've seen very clearly, is that maybe it was just started as a little thing, and there were other people that were more the plotters, but because they've screwed me over so badly, that they're full on whole hog, also, like, the first level, they're also like totally in and committed now. So I've seen that, there's no remorse. And there was just actually Friday, if you don't realize this, I mean, the tell is always in the response. I've said this multiple times. And one of the people, and I think the primary person that was behind stealing everything that I've ever written, they made a post that I think was intended to hurt me, like to be a dig at me. What they don't realize is you actually exposed your whole operation. If I have been watching all of these interactions all this time, you literally gave me the ability to see exactly how and what you're doing. You should have actually been paying more attention to the videos, to the words of the videos and what they meant that you were stealing. Because I've said multiple times, should have paid attention to those videos on manipulation. When you manipulate, you make yourself simple. So whatever ability and capability that you had when you got into this, you're not still that same person. Have you noticed that you can't come up with your own stuff anymore? Do you have to steal more things, even for things that you used to be able to write about? That's why. We read a lot about C.S. Lewis, and there's a quote. I have published this quote. That's the other thing. Like, all the images that I've put up, like verses and things, they've all been wiped from the search engine. But there is a quote by C.S. Lewis that he said, every day that we make a choice about whether we're going to be more of a heavenly creature or a hellish creature. So what is it that you're choosing to do? What is it you're choosing to do? Because quite frankly, some of the things that I've seen, my guess is that you may be putting yourself out there as this Christian thought leader and speaker and ghostwriter when you're probably a secret pantheist. And you want to know why that is? Okay, I also have videos on this and essays on this, quite a few of them. Go read The Spirit of Harlotry, because when you consistently and persistently deny the conviction of the Holy Spirit, that is when we quench the Holy Spirit and you can't hear his voice anymore. So I don't know, like, I think you've turned me into the villain, like you think I deserve it or something. I didn't do anything to deserve you stealing my life. You're not only stealing my life, but you're also stealing my present and trying to steal my future, because I can't even go and work on new things that you haven't stolen already. Oh, by the way, I did actually do some really amazing teachings for the Afghans just in WhatsApp, and I am positive they're probably hacking the phone and probably have already been working that into more of their theft. But here's the thing. You didn't need to steal my stuff, okay? God would have given you your own if you had asked for him. What I have, nobody can take from me. You can keep stealing all you want. It doesn't change a thing. You're not going to stop my words because God gave them to me. I literally asked him for it, and this is what he gave me. If you wanted something like that, you could have asked. He would have given it to you. You know, when I first got into the apologetics program, very first semester, I was like, I knew that Jesus was coming soon. You want to know why? Because I saw all these people from all these different walks of life, and they just had all these really unique perspectives and experiences. And I knew that whoever you are, like if you're not a believer, it doesn't matter who you are, God is preparing somebody to have the words to say to you, to speak to you. He is training up and he's raising up people to go after all those lost sheep. And so you don't need to be me. I'm already me. You can't be me. You can be you and I can't be you. So if you wanted your own thing, he would have given it to you. You didn't have to steal my stuff. You didn't. You could have had your own stuff, and you did have your own stuff. Go go and watch the video for the parable of talents, and literally like ask the Holy Spirit to say, what do you want to speak to me about this? And so this is the thing. Use your own stuff. Use your own stuff. So this is the thing. I really not that smart. I'm sorry. For a smart person, you're really not making very, very smart choices because you're the end guy. You're the fall guy. I so far been blown off, but I know you expose yourself, and I know who has done what. And I may not be able to prove it, but authorities will be able to. And the people, the manipulators, the corrupt core, they're probably really good at covering your tracks. You're not. You definitely are not. And the fact that I have contacted the FBI so many times, and I've talked about this so much on Twitter, I guarantee you that they're already watching you. They're already watching you. And that I know that I have just been used as convenient bait because you guys are stupid and you make really stupid mistakes, and it makes them easy. It makes it easy for them to track you down. Do you realize that? So anyway, so my message to the stalkers is that go ask the Humble ISD school board how fast to be able to shut me up. The answer is never. You will never be able to. I will not shut up. I will remember exactly what happened for a very long time. I have things documented and I have screenshots. I do. So no, I'm not going to shut up. So back when all the crazy stuff was happening around the 2017 election, I realized that if what I was saying, if there was something behind what I was saying, right? What all these things that were happening to me, if what I thought was going on actually was, then there were probably some really powerful players behind it, and that was probably who was doing all the surreptitious attacks, right? Because they're shady snakes. They never like come out and confront you directly. I mean, they're shady. They're just totally shady. But I had to make a decision. Like if I think if what I think is going on is actually going on, then there could be some powerful people behind it. And if that's the case, do I really believe? Because I was thinking, I'm going out and saying, because God's shown me this, and so I'm talking. Do I really believe what I'm saying? Do I really believe what I'm saying? That he's telling me to do this? And if so, do I believe what I say I believe? Because if I actually believe what I say I do, then I would have trust in God that he's going to protect me from whoever comes at me. And I had to make that choice. And back in earlier this year, it was the same thing. There's a lot of crazy stuff that was happening. And, could have been, I think they were just trying to basically drive me into a nervous breakdown or something. I don't know. I don't know if it's a political thing that they don't want my words to get out, or if it's to cover up the theft of intellectual property. I don't know. Probably both. I don't know. But I had to make sure it's the same sort of thing. It's like, okay, if there's actually people coming against me, my mom, I was telling her about this. She's like, well, people like that, you start to challenge them, they could come out and try to take you out. I'm like, yeah, it's online mafia, because that's literally what they do. But this is the thing. Again, it's like, okay, God, I can't do anything about it. So, I'm in your hands. You're just gonna have to work it out and protect me. Because what can I do about it? There's nothing I can do about it. And this is the thing about the theft of the property. I was really agitated and upset about it. And then I realized, you know what? God gave this to me. And again, like when I started doing YouTube videos, I made a choice. I saw the things that were getting a lot of steam and a lot of views, and you do fake prophetic words, or do like Watchmen videos where you're attacking other people. You can get more traction and get more views. And I made a choice that, even though like it's a very small channel, like doing Bible teachings, it's like, it's not a niche. Like if a niche is like a topic is like comparing to a location, you want to find a niche where YouTube can identify you on a particular corner, so other people that are passing by will see you, right? Bible study teaching is like a continent. It's really competitive. It's not what I recommended if you like want to build a YouTube channel fast. No, but I wasn't doing it for that. I was, because I felt like God was telling me to do these Bible teachings, because all the things I was saying that were really frustrating me, I think, you know what? Do you not know your Bible? And the answer is no. A lot of people don't. A lot of Christians don't read their Bible, and there's a lot of bad teaching out there. So my idea to begin with was just to do it like verse by verse. Like if somebody's sitting down with me, we were reading through the Bible, having a conversation. That's how it started. And I made a decision that I wasn't going to go chasing views. I was just going to do the best I can. And honestly, sometimes sometimes that best was not very good. I have videos with crappy audio. I have videos that are like complete mess, but I've done my best that I could do at the time and tried to get better. So that was a choice I made. I wasn't doing it for the views. And I realized that is something really difficult for these people that are stealing from me and attacking me to understand. They don't understand doing something for the value of the thing itself, and especially not doing it because you think that that's something that God told you to do, because he did. They're all about the numbers. How much do you make? How much do you have? The question is that every single one of us we're going to have to answer is, what did you do with what you have? What did you do with what God gave you? Did you do anything of value with it? Or are you doing like these people are doing, trying to destroy somebody and their work? What do you think what kind of reward do you think that's going to get you in heaven? So anyway, my advice for you, for my stalker, is first, I'm sure you have an attorney already, but I'd also like look into more security, because you're the weak link. You're the weak link. And there's a lot of weak links, because quite frankly, a lot of you cannot even stand up to having a discussion where people disagree with you. Like, there's no way people are going to be able to stand up to interrogation by authorities. You're going to cave, and the whole thing's going to be exposed. And you're the weak link. And so this is a digital mafia. And what do they do to people that are like a risk of exposing their operation? So that's my advice to you. And I would also actually talk to God about like where it is that you're at, because I think you've like completely closed yourself off to him. Anyway, so I had just started realizing, going back to, because it's not done. Just started realizing like who's behind it. It's people I know. And okay, so we're talking about redirects. Okay, so going back into the redirects, back at the beginning of this video, I was showing you how all these they really manipulate and hack and sabotage with redirects. So this is a part of the report that I submitted. Actually, I guess some of you guys could go and get a copy of it through Freedom of Information Act. But this is what I saw on this on Twitter. So I had back, oh shoot. Yeah, they deleted it. Did they delete it? Is this it? Okay, I think this is it. Okay. So back when Beryl hit, and there was this whole controversy in local groups because Greg Abbott was out of the country, and Dan Patrick, as the acting governor, was supposed to submit a request for the FEMA declaration, right? The disaster declaration. So the governor of the state has to request it, and then the president issues it. It seems to me like Greg Abbott they had been having conversations, they had been preparing, but Patrick did not actually ask Biden for the declaration. So Biden had to call him and track him down on Tuesday morning. And in an article I have a post about this on my Facebook page. In an article, Patrick even said that Biden called while he was in a meeting and said he would issue it. So, and then when he first did the first disaster declaration, he didn't include aid for individuals. So it had to be revised. So anyway, rather than just saying, hey, yeah, oops, there's this whole slew. This is why it's a political thing behind it. There's this whole slew of sock puppets going on in the local Facebook groups, giving out information about what happened and everything. Just doing basically a whole PR war in the Facebook groups. And I had shared on Twitter I had said, hey, you did an oops. I shared on Twitter a link to the PDF from FEMA, which very clearly outlines the process. Now, when I think it was Monday or something, I don't know. I think it was Monday when I first shared this. That
was the first result in Google. I share it on Twitter. And then, I don't think any more about it. And then the whole thing's coming up again in the Facebook group. So I just go back rather than looking at it. I know that I've shared it. So I go back and I copy the link from my tweet, right? And I share it in the Facebook group. Well, I go and I look, and if you can see this first screenshot there, it's download pending. And I'm like, what are they doing? Did they hack what happened? And I went and I looked, and I was trying to find the PDF again, because I'm thinking the link's wrong, right? I try to find the PDF again. It doesn't even show on the first 2 pages of Google. So the search has been manipulated and the link's not working. I'm like, was there some hack with the site? So then I go and I'm actually looking at the link. So what I describe this in the report. The URL had been changed to a Twitter redirect. So my post had been edited on Twitter. I didn't do it. I don't have a premium account. Somebody manually edited that, and they put in a bad link. So it says download pending. That was deliberate sabotage so that information could not get out. And it was done from the back end of Twitter. Then I see an FBI post, and there it was for the 116th anniversary of the FBI, and it was linking to the podcast. And then there's a whole slew of sock puppet accounts that are posting, they're mocking the FBI because the link's bad. And they're like, oh, link's bad. So what they did was they had another URL at the end of that. What was linking to was the end of, it appended another URL to the end. So what it would look like is that it was just a mistake on the part of the social media manager, and that was why it was going to that. I don't think that that's what happened, because I saw on the one that I did that was an actual change on Twitter, and it looks like like I said, this syndicate likes sabotaging with URL redirects. So if you go back and you look on here, where did I go? Okay. This is the thing. I'm sure that they've deleting some of mine. Can you see it? So it's the same sort of thing. What they did to the FBS site was the same sort of thing that they did to the URL hacks on mine. But there was a change in the platform. It's changed on the back end. I also have this one account I cannot block. I'm like, okay, this is a sock puppet. And at this point, I'm just blocking them because I don't want them to have anything to think. Can't block them. I did block them. They're still following me. So this is not the only thing. So anyway, this is, I think, Friday morning. I'm realizing that who is behind it, right? So I go on Twitter, and this is the thing. I have a playlist of all the previews that I've done in book trailers, and I just, I go to and I listen to it sometimes and watch it for inspiration. Like during those times when I'm feeling a block, like I can't, like not creative or can't come up with anything, I go back and I watch those. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can, I can come up with this. And I love the music, so it's just kind of a reboot for me. So anyway, I had been watching those, and I was taking. This is the thing. I was pretty sure that the social media accounts were taking some of Zach's stuff and spinning them. So I was going back to see what his quotes were. And I also did screenshots of all the quotes that I used in my preview for my interview with Dr. Michael Ward on his book, After Humanity, which is a commentary on the abolition of man, right? So I go and I'm taking the screenshots, and I had done that a couple days before, and then I'm realizing who some of the people that are behind it. They're people I know. And so I go on Twitter basically just to kind of call them out, and indirectly. And I don't name them, but the person will know I'm talking to them. And so I go, and on each post that I do, I'm putting one of the slides of the preview trailer that I made, right? And so I go and I post it all, and then I'm looking at the link or at the thread. I'm like, when I go back to look at it, the last thread, the last post does not have an image attached. That's really weird. And so I'm thinking, okay, did I just not attach it? And so I repost that same thing, and I put the video or the image that was supposed to be attached to that post. But then I went back and I looked at my media on the desktop, and there was an image that was deleted. I did not delete it. So again, that is hacking and interference of my account by somebody with back-end access. So either Elon Musk's platform completely sucks and hackers can come in and go in and out of it at will, or there's collusion on the part, and he's giving them access. Because here's the thing, the sock puppet accounts, they do PR for Elon Musk. That's also part of my report. This is a slide that they didn't like. So let's just read it.
Dr. Ward's After Humanity. The question of truth as such is relegated to a second or third order issue. The real question is one of power. And thus we arrive at our post-truth world. Amen. Maybe that's why they wanted it deleted. Okay. So anyway, so that thread's there. I'm seeing that, that one slide had been deleted. And I thought, oh, that individual video is it's only 2 minutes and 9 seconds. I could upload this directly to Twitter. So I was going back to my studio, and I was trying to download it on my phone. I don't know what was going on. Couldn't download it. That may be some other kind of weird thing. So guess what? I go in my studio, scroll down to the video where Dr. Ward's is, and it's not public. It's been unlisted. And 3 other videos have been unlisted too. And not only have they been unlisted, I don't have screenshots of this, but not only have they been unlisted, but the description has been wiped. They've been removed from the playlist. Like, the tags are gone. And the video metrics have been modified. All the likes have been removed, and I'm pretty positive that some of the views have been removed. Those 4. And I'm like, this is really, really weird. So keep in mind that there had been, I could tell there had been a sock puppet campaign to basically smear abolition man C.S. Lewis. And then this video that is my preview trailer that leads into my interview with Dr. Ward, that's been unlisted, and all the details wiped, as well as most of the metrics. And so anyway, I'm like, what the heck? So I started exploring it a little bit more, and let's see, what is this one? Okay. So I go into the analytics, and I'm going to show you this. This is actually a 1 minute and 40-second screen record. I'm just recording my laptop with my video, or with my camera. And so this is sped up. So what this is analytics for that individual video since it was published. And you can see there's not very many. Like, here's the thing. The number of views it's recorded on that, I probably watched it myself more than that, just because, like I said, I go through it, go through that playlist when I need, like, inspiration. So I don't know if you can notice it, but have you noticed it a lot, that very often when I'm dragging my cursor over where the date is, you can see that there's a spike that says that there's been views, but the count doesn't change. It still shows 0. Do you notice that? Okay. So here's the thing. I know that, whoever has been trying to eliminate me from any sort of anything that I have, or cover up, that, they like my words, they use them, but they don't want anyone to know that they're actually my words. So they try to drown it out, right? Sabotage everything that I have. So I know that the description, and I actually did tag Team YouTube on this. Not on this, actually. This I found afterwards. I tagged them on something. Oh, no, I tagged them because it was unlisted. Okay, this is before I found this part of it. And they said, do you have anybody else that has access to your account? And I said, no. No, I don't. And so anyway, when I'm looking at, so I know that there's been like an individual deliberate sabotage, right? But this is the thing. Like, I've thought this for a long time. So I realized that my channel, I do book reviews and I do Bible studies, and then I added in Afghan. So I realized that I kind of confuse YouTube, because again, YouTube is just an algorithm, right? And so what any algorithm does is it tries to match your video or your content with other people that are interested in your thing. So if you're constantly like interacting and collaborating with people that do the same types of videos or reviews, then it makes it easier for YouTube to show that. So, if you have a video that's related to something else, then, YouTube is going to say, oh, these people, I know how this audience of people likes this particular content, so they'll like this one, right? So that's the whole point of the algorithm. And I realized that I'm not like super nichey. And so, and also I do a lot of videos on weird things that, not everybody does. Although notice that when I do something, all these other people jump on it, which you would think would be kind of a good thing for me? No, because they basically want to eliminate me out of the search entirely. And so there's other things that are going on to kind of push my stuff down. But even before that, like the my parables of Jesus, I didn't really get views on those for like the first year, because again, small channel, huge niche with a lot of competition. The things with like, big audiences. So, but when I had a playlist and they started ranking, I started getting more views on it. Even still, I still have not. It's just weird. I'm thinking that my watch times. It doesn't matter how many videos I add. My watch time stays the same. It almost seems like it's just weird. I'm thinking this last year, obviously, I haven't been consistent, but I have been up until the end of 2023. I've been pretty consistent with one thing or the another since 2019, and it's just really odd. So I have the number of subscribers to be monetized, but I don't have the watch time. And you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. Mine stayed like pretty much the same the whole time. And I thought, it's almost like there's something suppressing like my views and my metrics. That's what it seems like. Even before there was a deliberate attack. I mean, recently it's been a deliberate attack and sabotage against it, but even before that. And all the Kabul Hope videos, the updates, there's some sort of flag on them. So I bet there'll be some sort of flag on this too. And I've talked to YouTube about it before. I mentioned it on one of my streams before. I've talked to YouTube about it, and they're like, "Oh no, there's nothing showing." But the thing is, when I was on a public network and I was trying to go and watch the video, unless if I was logged into my own account as a creator, the video was showing as not available. And then if I was logged in and I was on the front end doing it, I could watch it, but the comments were closed. So it seemed to me like there was some sort of flag on those videos that it doesn't show up on it's some sort of internal flag. It doesn't show up on my like on my studio, but it's something that a network would read, and it's like, okay, don't show this. So I knew that because I've seen it. But now when I see that video, and that it's showing views, but that as you're going over it, there's no count. And then I know for a fact that that is not a true view count, and that the likes have been wiped, and no comments on anything on those four. I mean, those four specifically. But this is the thing. It's either whoever has been attacking me and basically, sabotaging everything I do, either they have the ability to go and manipulate the views and the counts and the watch time, right? Or it's YouTube as an entity is doing it. Or it could be both. It could be both things. It could be that there's a system-wide suppression and underreporting of views. Like there's an underreporting of sales on Amazon that I have proof of. This shows me that I have proof that there's underreporting of views and watch time on YouTube for whatever reason, like wherever the suppression is coming from. But the thing about YouTube and advertising, if you don't meet that requirement, they're showing ads on your videos, but they don't give you anything. So they're keeping the total of the money, right? They're keeping all of the ad revenue, and they're not giving it to all of these small creators that haven't made that gone over into that hurdle. So there actually is a monetary incentive for YouTube to not to not like to keep these small people who are steady, who maybe will like do whether they make money or not, if they're not going to do it regardless, is better for them to underreport the views and keep them under the ability to get monetized, because then YouTube can keep all of it. So one way or the other, there's fraud going on. It's either sabotage on me individually, or it's definite sabotage on me individually. But as far as the reporting of the views and everything, it's either, it could be both. I mean, it could be, somebody, like I told somebody, which I actually don't even, anyway, it could be that there's some person in some department that whoever is after me paid to basically put a bosh on my my account. Or it could also be that YouTube just underreporting. But anyway, that isn't the only one that I saw like that. And this is the thing, when you have these small numbers, it's really easy to see it. It's really easy to see it when you look. So anyway, that's what's been going on with me. And I can tell that just even on the stream that there's been some glitches. And I'm sure that they've probably tried to interfere with like they're just creepy. I mean, they're just pathetic. And like I said, you're really getting desperate because number one, it's not just about me. And everything you do towards me, I guarantee you, it's being watched. And it's just more, you're just digging a bigger hole for you. You're dumb. You're dumb. You wouldn't have, and this is the thing. If you were as good as you like to think you are, you wouldn't have to, I mean, I am just a person that's been putting it out, doing these all on my own. And you're how much money have you spent trying to sabotage me? Seriously, how pathetic are you? I mean, you are so pathetic. Anyway, enough on that. So here's the thing. If you go to my website, this is what you can do. If you're watching this, and I'm sure that the distribution of this stream has been suppressed. So if you're watching this afterwards, here's things you can do. Anything I've written and I've done videos on a lot of different things. I have book reviews, I have Bible studies, I have story, comments about what I'm doing with the Afghans. And if you want to help me out with anything, if you could, number one, subscribe to the channel. There's just a glitch right when I said that. You could subscribe to the channel because my channel has been deliberately suppressed and sabotaged. So you could subscribe to the channel and make a comment on it, and that will help. Engagement helps reach. And if you can share it with someone. Don't share it just to share it. I mean, if it's something that you think somebody that would be interested in, and that would be helpful. That would be very useful. Okay. Second thing, I have on my website if you want to donate and help support the ministry and the work I've been doing, you can go to my website at racetowalk.org/give, and you can donate there. Now that part would go to me. I have another donation set up for donations for the Afghans. But this is a thing I have spent, like, I can't even tell you, like, it's like trying to work on something, even just getting that report in, all while they're going and destroying everything behind me. This is what it's been like. I was talking to my friend Charlotte. She's like, you just need to get somebody that can, handle the cybersecurity. And it's like, I mean, I've talked to people. It's not like I haven't. I have talked to them. But that is obviously, since authorities have done nothing, that is actually something that I'm going to have to do. I have to go private because, because the authorities have blown me off. If you have a suggestion for me of who to contact, of like who might actually care and take action about these criminals, let me know. You can go to, where's my banners? It's been a long time since I do this. I'm out of practice. But anyway, you can send a message to contact@racetowalk.org. and hopefully I'll get it. I mean, this is the thing. They've been attacking my emails too. So sometimes the emails are delayed. Literally like every single area. So there's that. Secondly, if yeah, if you just know somebody that I can talk to that will do something, that would be great. Because um I have this is the thing. I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm going to keep complaining and reporting it to as many people I can, and see if somebody wants to publicize it and light a fire under somebody's butt so they'll actually do something. Anyway, so the other thing is that these Sunday updates were originally started so I could give people updates about the Afghans that I was working with, because the people that were originally helping me were my friends in the apologetics group, and one of the first things we did, they donated money so we could, so the Afghans could have their first Christmas in Pakistan. And it was they also donated money so the babies could get birth certificates. And I just had a meeting not too long ago with one of those one of the fathers of the babies, and he's not a baby anymore, he's a toddler, and he's learning English through YouTube videos. So he had him come say hi to me. So anyway, this has damaged what I've been able to do with them. And part of it was I didn't know what was going on, and they're in such precarious circumstances that I didn't want to put them in worse situation. I don't want them to be at risk because they're associated with me. And so I didn't say anything for a long time because I didn't really know what to say either. And it took a while before I started figuring it out. I mean, this is the thing. Nobody's told me squat. And I know people that know at least part of what's going on. And nobody had the decency to give me any sort of heads up. I had to piece this together all on my own. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the Afghans. So right as this all is starting, I talked about this a lot last year, that there was a new program opening up. Well, it opened up last year, but it was going to be opening up for refugees who, it's Welcome Corps. And right at the end of the year, this opened up, but then everything kind of exploded. And I have been basically just trying to continually trying to salvage, can't even move forward because they're constantly destroying blowing things up behind me. So anyway, this is a program that opened, and I have a lot of people families that need sponsors, and not only my families, but this is just like a really amazing story. I came in contact with. So here's the thing, my one of my family. Oh, actually, the one whose baby we got a birth certificate for. He had, in the end of the story was, there's this lady. She's a Muslim lady. She lives in Florida, and she has a nonprofit. And she's Pakistani. She's an American citizen, but she's a Pakistani. And she had gone to Pakistan at the end of 2021. And she saw all these Hazaras, which is a minority group. I've talked about them a lot, on my channels, but they're a minority group, ethnicity in Afghanistan, that were living basically in tents in Islamabad. And this was so on her heart that she was like, she had to help them. And so she went back, and it was her and one person. I don't know if it's an employee of her nonprofit or a volunteer, but they filed, I think it was like, I'm not looking, I can't remember the numbers exactly, but something like humanitarian parole applications for 198 families. And when you file those reports, every single individual in the family has to have their own application. They submitted those all by the end of 2022. Humanitarian parole was one of those paths, just wasn't going anywhere. And I was told multiple times, it's just, don't even get your hopes up. I had told you about the family of the two families I was working with, their kids, and my friend and I were teaching, working with them because they've been out of school since COVID started, basically. And they're the ones, they're one of the lucky ones because they have family in Western countries, and their sister in Washington state had filed for, because they had, the Taliban had killed their youngest sibling because the sister in Washington became a Christian and apostatized. And so she was in the US, they couldn't get to her, so they killed a 13-year-old boy and left his body lying on the front steps of their family's home. So the sister in Washington had gotten her parents and her youngest sister over on a family reunification visa. This is like, must be like 17 years ago now. I don't know. I'm losing track of time. Maybe it's like 2006. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was when George Bush was in presidency when she came over on a program, an exchange program. So anyway, she got her family or her parents here, and the Taliban had said, that all of them were on a kill list. And so two of her brothers escaped to Europe through Iran, and then there were two siblings left, a brother and sister. And they had worked for U.S. projects under NATO and stuff. And so anyway, she had filed for family reunification visas for both of them in 2015. And they were already on the Taliban watch list, right? And so when the Taliban took over again, the brother and sister were on the way to the hospital, and they got stopped at a checkpoint, didn't have their phones with them, and they were beaten. And I actually have a Bible study video where I share with my Bible study at my church, where I kind of share their story. And so after that, they escaped to Pakistan, and they were basically that. I've talked about this a lot, so it's not a good situation for them. And these two families were living in one apartment, and the siblings in other, they can't work, and I think they were probably middle class, if not upper middle class, when they lived in Afghanistan before the Taliban took over. But, with that, anybody that's affiliated with, that was affiliated with NATO is basically at risk. And I've talked to a lot of people, like all the resources were, seized, and it just, anyway, so their family supporting them, but, it's like, ask yourself, if you had a family member in a country that was relying on you, like entire families, would you be able to fund them and two additional families on top of your own? So anyway, they were in that that apartment, and I started teaching. Mark took over Mark's classes, and I told the story of this. The 13-year-old at the time, the oldest of the sister's kids, she wanted me to teach her English. And I was like, I can't teach you English, but I will read with you. And the reality is that they actually know English really well. This is one of the things that's really impressed me, just working with them in general, just how well they understand English. Their Afghan teachers, they taught them really well because they taught them with phonics. I told them they could probably read English a lot better than a lot of Americans can, because the Afghans were taught to read English phonetically and Americans were not. So they may not know what the words mean, but they can pronounce. Sometimes the pronunciations are a little weird, but they can sound them out because they know how to read phonetically. So anyway, so they actually spoke English pretty well, but we just started reading with them. That was our meeting. And then she wanted more classes. And so she got me. She keeps asking. She's like, the parable of the persistent widow. Yeah. So she asked, can you get this for me? Can you get this for me? I was like, so, I'm like, I don't know. I told them at the beginning, I don't know anybody. I don't have any connections. I just asked my friends, and some of them say yes. I mean, I mentioned this, even like, giving your time is a lot, and a lot of people aren't willing to give their time, but I have some friends that did, and really, a friend of a friend who is an educated teacher and homeschooled her kids, kind of went in and did an assessment for where they're at. And she was kind of had a curriculum for that. And I got Sonia Howard, who is a contributor to Journal, and she's in Australia. So she's a lot closer in time. They totally thought I was magic because I knew somebody in Australia. I'm like, okay, it's through the Journal. And so she was teaching them. And then my friend, Leslie, who, she was like reading, she's also a teacher, but she was reading with them. And out of all of them, I mean, she really kind of made them her own, like her own family. And she invested so much into them. I mean, just, it really reminds me, like, just kind of what she's done. It really reminds me of Dina Cameron. I have a video on her book, a book about her, Fierce Compassion. Donald Dina Cameron was somebody who basically saved a generation of Chinese children from slavery in the U.S. It's just an amazing story. And my friend Leslie, I think, is like that. I mean, just what she's invested into them is just amazing. She, the oldest girl wanted to go to school, private school. They can't go to school as refugees in Pakistan because they don't have official status there. Even if they're on a visa, they can't. And so I'm like, hey, I cannot look. I have all these people. All these people have needs. I can't, devote it. And they're in better position than a lot of people, because they have family. And they have family that is helping them. Even, there's a lot of people who have family in Western countries who won't even talk to them. So, their aunt was already doing a lot for them and, giving what she could. I'm like, they have help. They're in a lot better position than a lot of people. But my friend Leslie was, she's just working with this family and she's like, this is just on my heart. She just felt like she was called to do this. And she went out and she raised money for these kids to go to school in Pakistan. So she asked her friends, she just told them about the story. She got donations so they started school in last September. And then she did a fundraiser for them, and funded them for the rest of the year. So that family, they had the 3 applications in actually for immigration. They had the family reunification visa had been submitted in 2015. They had a SIV application for both families because the brother and the brother-in-law both worked for NATO companies, and they are U.S. projects, U.S. companies on actually some, I think they were military projects. I don't know. Anyway, they qualified under that. So they had SIV applications in, and they also had the sister paid an attorney to file humanitarian parole applications for them. And so this is a whole big squawking about immigration when they're talking about humanitarian parole. So on those humanitarian parole applications, the parolee, they get nothing. The sponsor is guaranteeing that they will take them, that they will support them. All this family does, that they're coming on humanitarian parole, is they are they're getting a visa to come, and then once they're here, they have to apply for asylum. And as I've said, the asylum cases are super backed up. Like the last I looked, it was like a 6-year backlog. So then they have to go through that. So that's that story, right? And so I just had a thought as I was saying that. Okay. So anyway, beginning of the year, the guy with the baby that we got the birth certificate for, he tells me that this woman in the US he was one of those 198 families of Hazara families that she had filed a humanitarian parole for, and that they needed a letter of sponsorship for these people, for saying that they would take care of them, financial supporter basically. And I'm like, okay. So then I check with, this is the thing, they're really cagey. A lot of times they don't just share things. I understand they're in dangerous situations, but like knowing this stuff would be helpful. I'm just saying. So anyway, I go and I tell the sister in Washington that this other family had gotten a conditional approval, and had she heard anything? She's like, oh yeah, we got approval for, and they're waiting for the interview with, so they had to go and get security screening and medical check and fill out a form and then submit that, and then wait for the embassy to call them for an interview. And then the embassy issues a visa. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Okay. So the kids are covered, right? Their families are covered because they have an aunt that's covering them. But they have these other families that have this letter coming through, and they need a letter, or they need this financial backer to for it to be considered. And the thing is, they could have been. This is Faith and Books, a YouTube channel. Her husband said, they were actually being nice, because this is supposed to be submitted. The evidence of financial support is supposed to be submitted to begin with. And they gave them an opportunity to basically submit this additional information. So this one family that's been in my group all this time, he has this opportunity, but he needs somebody to say that they'll financially support him, right? And then a couple other families come in. And so I just happened, this is when we were getting ready for the Lent read along. I think it was at the Lent read along. So I was just saying, hey, if you know anybody, this is what I need. They need somebody to give them, help back them to be able to get here. The application is already in. And so Faye goes, oh, we might want to do that, because they've already sponsored a refugee that actually adopted her into her family. So anyway, so I'm like, oh, great. First time I asked, it comes up. And then her husband gets sick, and he's like, weird stuff going on with that. And he comes out. Well, then after he gets out of the hospital, my computer hacking starts. And yeah, my computer hacking starts. And they, just as I'm trying to do this, my registry is completely messed up and wiped. I can't even use my laptop. So I'm trying to work with Rick, Faith's husband, on getting the documentation and the letters and stuff using my phone and my iPad. And we're on a deadline because, these petty basic criminals have destroyed my laptop. And so we're getting it. We get it in just in time. The lady that works for the nonprofit, she works in, so we get it in. So anyway, so those things are starting to move. And the kids, the families, with the kids that I've been reading with, this is another weird thing. And I really, just based on everything that's happened, I don't know how they would have done this, but just based on everything that's happened, I just have this gut feeling that there's been some sort of something, some sort of sabotage on the part of this one family's visa. So the family with the girls, so the sister has 4 girls, their visa came through, the last one, the beginning of April, and they arrived in the US on April 10th. So the girls were able to end the school year last year, and they're going to be starting, the oldest one's going to be starting high school in September. And she wants to be a pilot. She wants to go to pilot school. Did you know it's actually easier to fly a plane than it is to a car? It's crazy. Anyway, I was telling somebody, if Taliban are still in power when she's an adult, she will take them out. She'll take care. She is like a force to be reckoned with, let me tell you. She wants to be an astronaut. This is the thing. The problem is that her citizenship, because she found an internship program with NASA, but you have to be 16, but she's not 16 yet, but you have to be a citizen, and they're still their sister is kind of tapped out right now, and so they have to try to find an attorney that will file their asylum case for them. That hasn't happened yet. She's looked for free services, and they're super backed up. So somebody that would like to do an asylum case for some of my kids who are, seriously, they're really, she is so bold. It's like I kind of get this is the thing. I have to keep pushing because I look at the situation they're in and they don't stop. They're in dire situation and they keep going, they keep persisting. And who am I to sit here and get discouraged and sit down and do nothing, when I'm sitting in safety, even though, they're coming against me. Like, we actually have laws here. And yeah, there's a lot of corruption, but it's not completely corrupt like Pakistan. So anyway, they need that. She wants to be a pilot. She's here, but the other family, the son, there's the brother and his son. They're still sitting there in Pakistan, and their application was approved by USCIS in January, and they had their interviews in like February, I think she said, and they're still sitting there. They're still sitting there, and I just feel like it's more somehow they're able to sabotage that. I don't know, but just literally, like anything that's important to me, they try to foul. And so one family is here. The other family should be here, but they're not here yet. And then had another family that he was one of the people that was always investigating and researching for me. And he made it to Australia, and he's living. The Red Cross settled him in a house. I guess I don't know what kind of stuff they were in to begin with. I said, how are things? I guess at the beginning when he first got there, he said it wasn't good. I don't know what that means, but they got settled in a home, and he sent me pictures, and it was like, oh, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful there. And so that made me really happy. And, just seeing my friend Leslie actually went to go and visit them this summer, just a few weeks ago. And she sent me pictures of her with the girls and their families. And it was just, I could just see how happy she was. And it just, with everything else that's been going on, that's been an encouragement. So anyway, what you can do, there's a lot of people that think that you keep score by how much you have, how much you make, what you own. But at the end of the day, the only thing that is actually eternal are the people that are in front of you. And if you would like to make a difference, like lifelong, generational difference in the lives of a family, then you could be that by starting a sponsor group for one of these families through Welcome Corps. And I got a note from the assistant of the lady that has the nonprofit, and she said that she has somebody who is willing to fund, like, so there's two parts to Welcome Corps. You have to have a group of people or an organization. So that is it could be 5 individuals, and one of those people has to be the team lead. And what you're agreeing to do is you're basically agreeing to help them get settled and show them around. So even like with the family that's, up in Washington, their sister, she's been doing a lot. The aunt, has been doing a lot for them and supporting them and everything. But there were a lot of things like, when my friend was starting to go there, I'm like, well, you guys go to the library, you guys take the bus, they're just like little details of things that my friend Lucy was actually able to do with them. So it does take a group of people. Their aunt has just been not given up. Like, she was committed to getting them out to safety, and she was doing it all on her own for years until they came to Afghanistan, and we connected with them for a few people. She was doing it all by herself, and so it's a lot. And so you have a family that needs help getting acclimated. You do need a team, right? And so that's what Welcome Corps is designed to do. Is designed to help you come together as a team. The individuals have to be in the same community because you're helping them get situated in your community. And so it's like showing them how to, how to get a driver's license, or getting a social security card, and they're, getting the kids registered for schools, just like, bank accounts, just basic, like, how do you do life things? This is how, show them around, how it's basically like, the High Neighbor Club. That's basically what you're doing. And so you can form a group, and then you can have with the option now, you can register, you can choose a family, say, this family I want to sponsor and help them get situated. And the financial portion of it is that I think the amount is, went out again, $2,475 per person that you gather. So if you're sponsoring an individual, that is what you're committing to raise or donate or fundraise. And that doesn't have to be like financial cash. Like if you're giving, if it's for, if you're doing like, giving them, like you have an apartment that they can live in for a year, then that would count towards, it'd be like an in kind, right? Or if you're giving them a car or something, I don't know, that would be like an in kind donation. So if you're doing something that you normally have to pay for, then that counts towards the amount. But before you can make an application for them, you have to raise 60% of that. And then you can make an application and say, please, can you, I want to sponsor this family. So if you want to, or it can be an organization. It can be a group of 5 people, or an organization. So if you want to do something that has like a lot of impact, this is an opportunity to. You can be part of somebody's story. You can be somebody. There's a man named Bill Orland who was part of building the Holocaust Museum here in Houston. He is Bill Morgan of Kinder Morgan. He just passed away last October, I think it was. And his story was he lost his entire family in the ghetto. And his dad basically gave him a blessing, like, go and live, build a life. And so he was able to escape. I think it was Poland, because he used his Christian friend's birth certificates. And he has a book. I'll link to it in the show notes, or like in the article for this page. But he got out. I mean, I've seen articles written about him, but the thing is, he wouldn't have gotten out if he didn't have help. And he needed help. He just needed to start, like, somebody to help rebuild a life, and he did. He built an entire business, a huge business in Houston, well-known business. He helped build the Holocaust Museum in Houston, but he had help. Someone was willing to help him. He got his first job at, like, he was a shoe salesman. So you can be somebody that helps the next Bill Morgan get their start. You can do that. And I have a lot of families that are just need some friends. I mean, they're very, very resourceful. I mean, the people that were able to, escape and move, they're not like, these are educated people. They're professionals. They have skills, and they just need a chance. They need an opportunity to build a life. I mean, think about it. If you were in that situation, would you want somebody to help you? Or would you just want somebody to sit there and do nothing? I mean, you can be somebody who makes a difference. And you can be somebody who, you can have an impact. And here's the thing, like, I've been teaching in Bible studies, right? And I've had somebody say, well, you don't know if they're really Christians. Could just be doing it for, for help or whatever, because to get something out of it. This is the thing. I've gotten apart from Bible studies, I really haven't gotten. We've helped a few people out here and there, but really not that much. Nothing they can depend on. They have me in their phone. They're putting them at risk. So, but I get the point. I understand that. But this is a reality. People are hacking me and attacking me. They're Christians, okay? So what I'm saying is you don't know the truth about anybody or where somebody's actually at. And even if they were at a particular place at one point, you don't know where they're at today. And I told them at the beginning, I'm committed to helping you one way or the other. I'm not helping you because, you're coming to my Bible studies or because you say you're a Christian. I'm helping you because you're a human being that need help. And I feel like, as a country, we failed you, and at least I can do what I can do. So anyway, the point of this is that I'm not guaranteeing somebody's a Christian or not, but I'm guaranteeing that guarantee you that if there's a Christian group that is helping them, then you're going to have a huge impact on their spiritual life. So right now, the lady who has put all this effort in, she's a Muslim. She's just doing it because, she's a human, she just saw that they had a need and she felt like she needed to help. So my question is, what is the church going to do? Are we gonna do something like this Muslim lady with a small little nonprofit that's just doing what she can? We have all these churches with all these resources. Are we gonna help? So anyway, like I said, I have a lot of families. So if you'd like to help a family, say, hey, yeah, that sounds like that's something I'm interested in, then send me an email at contact@resawalk.org, or I don't know, track me down. Like I said, I've had people hacking me, so my emails are delayed sometimes. Track me down, and we can talk, and you can meet with the family. And if you're not really quite sure of the process, let me know. But these aren't like random people. These are people that are. I have people that in my group, and a lot of them don't have any applications in, and I just found out that some that I thought had applications in, like they were going to be evacuated to Germany, that all went up in smoke. So I have more than I thought I did. And then the lady that was just working on humanitarian parole, they were told that those humanitarian parole applications could be kind of converted over to Welcome Corps if somebody wanted to go through that process. And Welcome Corps would be a lot better option for them because, with the humanitarian parole, they have to, then apply for asylum and wait for like 6 years or who knows how long. But Welcome Corps is a direct path to citizenship. So anyway, so that's what's been going on. And I'm not sure when my next update is going to be. Like, just even doing these, it does take a lot of time to put together these updates. And I'm still like trying to catch up on things that, like I said, like people have been going behind me and blowing things up and destroying me and sabotaging and stealing everything I put out. So I have to deal with all that too. So I am not positive about when I'm going to be doing an update, but that is what's going on. So there has been movement, even though I haven't been pushing it, because I haven't been doing anything. I mean, I've been talking to him lately. I haven't even been doing that much because I know some of their accounts have been hacked. I mean, and people I know, their accounts have been hacked too. They're just really pathetic people. They're even blocking. I was sending a message to Dawn about getting some of the money that Leslie raised to the family that needs it, and they're even blocking that. I mean, can you imagine? What kind of person does that? So the last thing, for my people who think their purpose in life is to destroy everything I do, here's a book you should read. Maybe you can discuss it in your next little platform face accounts, your little agency-owned ones. Hannah Arendt and the Banality of Evil. Read it. Understand it. Get the message. And a Lewis quote, because Lewis really bothers them. This is you. He's talking about you. And finally, the verse for the day. John 10:10. The enemy does not come except to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. I think you need to reconsider what side you're on. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you all decide to do some good.